All right, so we're back now. Struggled a little bit with some technical issues there, but I think I got it together now. So hopefully things go smoothly this time around. Again, it's your man Donald King, just reaching out to you on this fine Monday evening. I don't know what the weather is like where you're at, but it's starting to drizzle a bit here. So it is what it is. Yo. So like I told you in the last podcast, I want to give Avatar stuff a break a bit, just because I want to bring things down to a more relatable level. I understand that my experience is somewhat unique, and I guess trying to get people to understand things from the level I understand them on, and not saying that's above or below where yours is at, but if I'm running in my own lane, it may be hard for you to keep pace in yours. Either I'm behind you or in front of you or whatever. So no comparison there. But anyway, so we want to talk about relationships. If you note in the beginning of my videos, you see calm waters. And it starts off with this little caption, calm down. The reason I do this is because, well, ultimately everything that I'm trying to do in all the work that I've been putting out through the years is help people learn how to calm down. Help them learn how to be still. Okay? We live in a world where we're constantly under pressure to figure out how to survive. Humans are the only species that we know of, so far as I'm aware, who is forced to trade their life away for means to survive on. Meaning, you are not allowed to live in the world unless somehow you earn your keep. A lion doesn't have to do that. A fish doesn't have to do that. But a human must trade the value of their life away in units in the form of labor or exploitation in order to gain a place and a right to exist on this planet, at least within the throes of society. You see, that creates a lot of stress and a lot of tension. It has a lot of people feeling mad aggressive, And the problem with being aggressive is when you're feeling aggressive, you can't think well. So everything that I do ultimately is meant to help people learn how to calm their spirit so that they can sort of get some distance and perspective and come to understand things as they are in reality from outside their own realm of experience, if that makes sense to you. So this brings us to the subject of relationships, right? A relationship. What is a relationship? And I'm going to go to my water screen here because, again, I want you to be calm when you consider this, all right? A relationship is basically, let me see, what's the best way to describe a relationship? When it's basically a bond you form with someone that functions as an overtone value. When you form a relationship with someone, you are, in essence, forming a symbiotic union with them wherein they become an extension of your true self. Okay, so we generally call it falling in love. You know what I'm saying? When you fall in love with somebody, you don't just love how they make you feel. When you fall in love with someone, you fall in love with being good to them. You fall in love with being present for them, okay? You fall in love with the process of helping them find their purpose in life and subsequently their happiness and their satisfaction. When you fall in love with someone, you fall in love with their growth and their development and their advancement. When you fall in love with someone, you fall in love with doing the work of helping them achieve their highest self, okay? And this is very important to understand because most people, when they find themselves in what they feel is love, it's not love and it's not really an infatuation. Okay, so we have to start with a few premises here. Okay, so look at it like this. The socialization process trains us all to be raging narcissists. We're taught from infancy to take ownership of and to develop and build out these inner stories. Okay? And a narcissist is, in essence, it's a person who's addicted to the idea of, or who's addicted to the phenomenon of self-idealizing. Okay? A narcissist is a person who's addicted to self-idealizing. Why is it important to understand that? Well, you see, when you're a narcissist, you see the world through a perpetual lens of contest and competition. Anything that threatens your inner story, anything that threatens your ability to see yourself as being right and as being deserving of comforts and freedoms and satisfactions and rewards, it's necessarily perceived as a threat to you. This is why people experience cognitive dissonance. And I'm going to tie this all in here real quick, but narcissists don't know how to love. They only know how to compete. Narcissists do not know how to form real bonds with people. They only know how to search for competition. Okay? So, as you're groomed through the socialization process, especially here in the modern era, you come to see everyone as a competitor. You see your peer group as competition. You see your prospective mate as being competition. Everything is a contest for you to be right and for you to win. Why is that important to know? Well, okay. In the beginning stages of what most people perceive to be romance, right? 9 times out of 10, what people are drawn to and the vibe that they put out towards other individuals is a phenomenon I refer to in older work as posturing. Posturing is essentially peacocking. It's trying to demonstrate value and worth to others. Okay? So when people fall in love with someone's ideal self or someone's best self, they fall in love with a character. Why they fall in love with the character is because they're like, if I capture that individual, if I subdue and domesticate that individual, then it adds to my value as a human being. It adds to my worth. It supplements who I am and how I want to see myself. So a lot of guys, when they're attracted to women, they're not necessarily attracted to the woman for what and how she is. They're more attracted to the idea of how the woman will make him look to outside perceivers. I remember when I was a much younger man, and Jay-Z was just coming up, when he was just starting to make real money. Just prior to that point, everybody's like, oh, Jay-Z, he's ugly, he's terrible. He gets a little bit of money under his belt, and then all of a sudden girls are like, he's fine. Why is that? Because he represented success. They weren't necessarily attracted to his physical body. They weren't attracted to his aesthetic. They were attracted to the idea of how he, in capturing someone like him, would make them look to those who perceive them. This is the way that it works across the board. So when you're a narcissist, and again, everyone is going to be a narcissist to some degree because that's, in essence, what society trains you to be. You actually have to go in and do real soul searching and digging out and pulling out weeds and all those other things in order to get to a point where you transcend it. But you're trained through the socialization process to be a narcissist. When you're a narcissist, you tend to falsely equate your inner story to truth and reality for all things. Okay? So when you're looking at a potential mate, When you're narcissistic and or an ideologue, your thought is, how does that person add to or detract from my perceived social worth? How does this person add to or detract from my perceived worth? How do they make me look important, or how do they embarrass me? If someone is seen as an embarrassment, then you see them as a liability. If someone potentially enhances your sense of self-worth, then you see them as an asset. Everything through a consumerist lens, but it all goes back to competition, because the competition in your mind is not just against, those who you consider to be your peer groups or even the external world. It's always a contest to simply have more. This is what makes diseases and virions so dangerous. They consume thoughtlessly. They just want more. They want more. They want more, 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 more. So it's pretty much impossible to have a healthy relationship with a narcissist. Okay? And the reason for this is because narcissists think in terms of self-interest. Narcissists think in terms of self-interest. Me first. Protecting my story first, my identity first, my comfort first. When you try to, or how a relationship should be, is you're supposed to form a symbiotic bond with someone and come to view them as an extension of yourself. Your pain becomes their pain, and theirs yours. Your triumphs become their triumphs, and theirs yours. Everything is an extension of self. When you genuinely bond with someone, they become an extension of you. But when you are a narcissist, you're just a vacuum of potential. If you come across someone who actually is authentic and who isn't narcissistic too, the only thing you know how to do is take from them, exploit, and abuse them. You see, narcissists are by default abusive individuals. And it's not their fault per se. When you enter into a situation where you see someone as something that exists solely to supplement your life and your interest, once you feel they don't serve that interest anymore, or they don't serve that purpose or function anymore, you start becoming aggressive towards them. So, yeah, apparently we have some neighbors out here who love to make noise. But anyway, back to the point. So narcissists cannot be in fruitful relationships. And that's what I just explained to you is part of the reason why they can't be in a fruitful relationship. But there's another, and I'll break that down for you right now. You see, what makes a narcissist bad in any relationship is the fact that they only know how to perceive things through a lens of competition, through a lens of contest. What is competition? Competition is an attempt or efforts one would make to basically dominate another in some way, shape, or form. So when narcissists enter into relationships together, the goal is never to bond. The goal is to actually acquire and dominate another individual. Okay? This is the way that it ends up working out. So when narcissists enter into situations, the goal is always competition. You have in the beginning a honeymoon phase. In the honeymoon phase, everything is spectacular. You're like, oh my God. Oh, they do everything to make me warm and tingly inside. I love them. It's amazing. Gaps me swing. That's how it feels for the first couple of weeks to months. The reason why you feel this way is because ultimately what a narcissist is looking for in a prospective mate is someone who gives them an opportunity and a challenge to demonstrate value. They're not necessarily in love with the other person. They're in love with the idea of demonstrating their value and worth to another. Okay, so on the back end of that, right? Both people are in a contest to get the other to yield to their potency. This is how most relationships work and why most relationships fail these days. It's a contest to see who will yield to the other person's potency first. This is where it comes into the sort of dominant and submissive roles. When one person sort of asserts their authority and will, and they see that the other person has yielded to their dominance, the dominant party immediately loses interest or starts to feel a loss of interest in the submissive party, and the submissive party is always trying to demonstrate value and trying to capture satisfaction and rewards and recognition from the dominant party. This is the frame for every abusive relationship. It's the frame for every abusive relationship. You have this contest between people. It's a contest of wills. In every toxic relationship, it's a contest of wills. And the person who wins loses interest and becomes abusive, and the person who loses is forever drawn to and to the ideal of the person who they thought they had in the beginning. You can't have a healthy relationship. You can't form a bond with anyone you're trying to compete against. You cannot form a bond with someone you view as a rival, which is why 90%, 99% of relationships are mad toxic. They're not there to bond with each other. They're not there to understand each other. They're not there to love and uplift one another. They're there to compete. The more they compete is the more aggressive they become. The more aggressive they become is the more they need to do to dominate and subdue and impose their will on the other. And it becomes this vicious cycle wherein nobody is happy. The submissive party hates the dominant party, but is addicted to the idea of winning value, winning recognition from the dominant party. The dominant party, they're off in la la land. The submissive party is a tool to exploit. It's something that can be used and usually is something very exploitable in that way. But the submissive party then becomes a tool. I'm going to keep you, the dominant party is in essence thinking to itself, I'm going to keep you in this relegated role, in this tiny position where you have zero influence over me, but I want to go out here and posture for new people and find someone else to demonstrate value to because I've already won you. I've already defeated you. I've already broken you. That's how it works. So 90% of the time when you see all these memes floating around on Facebook where bitches ain't shit or niggas ain't shit, is narcissist. It's a bunch of raging narcissists running around like just looking for someone they can compete against, but someone who won't let them win. Because it's a great paradox. You want to win the contest with your prospective lover, but in the same respect, you kind of want to lose too, because you know the very second you come to see them as less than you, you're going to lose interest. And it becomes this irreconcilable problem, right? This is what it boils down to. So we have this really toxic dynamic wherein people falsely equate finding someone who they feel worthy of competing against and prevailing over as falling in love. Through the ideologue's mindset, through the narcissist mindset, finding someone to compete against while you have sex with them or do romantic things with them, that's the idea of love. That's not bonding with someone. That's not bonding at all. Most of these people who have umpteen relationships that they're falling in and out of all the time, and either that or they just have a bunch of people who they sleep around with, they do it because they want some way out of this cycle, out of this toxic and destructive cycle where they're attracted to someone for a very short period of time because they think they want to be with this person forever, but the only thing they want to do is compete against them and win so as to validate their own self-worth in their own inner story. You don't want love. You want someone to compete against, but who isn't an easy win. You know, back in the day, I had this idea, and this is actually after, my stint going to heaven and, Avatar at this point. So it's not too far back in the day, but it's like, let's say about 8 years ago, I used to have this idea. And in this idea, it was be your own heaven. And that makes sense because you don't want to make somebody responsible for your happiness. My thought was, be responsible for your own happiness and bring your happiness to the table and share it with another. Kind of like what, Will and Jada were talking about. I've been saying this for quite some time now, but I used to think that was very smart. And it followed the principle of the golden rule, which all of you all are familiar with, I'm sure, and that is do unto others as you'd have them do to you. And that is in essence how it's supposed to go. So when you're your own heaven, you're in essence doing for yourself as you would have others do for themselves so that you can come together and you can be happy. In theory, that makes sense. The golden rule, treat others ideally. There are a couple of different rules though. There's the golden rule, there's the silver rule, there's the bronze rule, there's the iron rule, and there's the tin rule. Okay? So the golden rule is treat others ideally, do unto others as you have them do to you. The silver rule is do no harm to others. That means don't be mean to other people. The bronze, is it the bronze rule? The bronze rule is treat others as they treat you. Okay? The iron rule is treat others poorly first because given the chance, they're going to treat you poorly. And then the tin rule is basically the narcissist rule, or that is idealize and worship those who are above you, shit on everybody below you. Okay? So my thought was treat others ideally. Then it sort of changed over time. I like the silver rule. I don't do harm to others. I don't do harm to others first. But in a situation when you're dealing with a person who acts parasitically and or narcissistically, you can only live ideally for so long before they destroy everything because you're not paying attention to the negative impacts that they're making. So I went from the golden rule to the silver rule, do no harm, but then to the bronze rule. So I'm a combination of the silver and the bronze now. You treat others as they treat you. So do not cause harm to people, but if someone is intent on causing harm to you and they're performing from the level of the iron or tin rule, then after a while, you have to start creating barriers and implementing consequences. Otherwise, they'll just run all over you. And that was a hard learned lesson, but it was essential nonetheless. So the reason why I mention this is because, I understand how relationships work at a mechanical level. The thing is, finding people who are not raging narcissists to be in relationships with, well, that's kind of hard. It's pretty tricky. Again, it's no one's fault. that they're raging narcissists, and you can try to love people through their narcissism, but in the end, if their only way of interacting with you is going to be from the tin level or the iron level, then after a while you have to start putting in those barriers and creating sort of consequences. Otherwise, they'll destroy you and destroy themselves in the process. You know, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we're groomed to be raging narcissists. I know that you guys probably don't understand this, and I want to explain this to you in very clear terms. You see, every time I'm talking about narcissists, I'm not sitting from atop some high moral, wall of judgment where I'm like, hey, you peasants, how dare you? No, I used to be a raging narcissist myself, man. I used to be a raging narcissist. You know, a lot of people who are narcissistic, especially some of the ones who are more narcissistic, it comes from a place of injury. It comes from a place of trauma. I remember when I was growing up, I was called ugly and stupid all the time. I was called ugly and stupid all the time. I was abused, you know, and I was traumatized. Then all of a sudden, I found this one thing that gave me power. First, it was muscles. And then, a couple people thought that I was handsome or whatnot. And then, all of a sudden, my gifts started kicking in and I could do some things with my mind that other people couldn't do. And because I had this newfound sense of value, it was a pendulum effect. I went from feeling like the highest of the high to the lowest of the low. I became a narcissist because I was overcompensating for insecurity. And anything that came along that threatened or challenged my fragile little inner story, I reacted in the same way that people react to anything that threatens or challenges their inner story now. It was met with cognitive dissonance, aggression. I felt envious of anyone who could do anything better than me. I had this great sense of insecurity and uncertainty. When I talk about narcissism, I'm talking from experience, not from judgment. If you want to have healthy relationships with people, you're going to have to learn how to attract healthy people. Healthy people are not those who are given to their identity. Healthy people are individuals who are able to deprioritize themselves in the grand scheme of things. Your comfort should not take precedence over the bond between you and your mate. Your convenience and satisfaction should not take priority over making sure that everything is okay between the two of you as a system of individuals. The system of the relationship should take precedence over your desire to benefit yourself. Relationships fail because most people are narcissistic. Back in the day, relationships lasted longer because everything wasn't about self-glorification. It wasn't about self-gratification. Mothers lived for the family. Fathers lived for their careers in the family, but there was something to draw people's attention away from the proverbial mirror. People were too busy to take a billion selfies and seek fans and immerse themselves in seas of self-worship. But now everybody's a fucking star, right? Everybody thinks that they're like the greatest thing to touch the planet and that others will be happy to be part of their fan club, right? Now all these people are walking around. They have lots of pictures of themselves, lots of experiences to share, lots of opinions to bulldoze people with, and nothing of substance to make them feel whole and complete. Narcissism. It'll hurt you, man. Anywho, you have been here with me for whatever reason you've decided to be. Who's that? La Erica King! Make me sing. What's up, sis? How you doing? What's up? I see you 100. Wow. My lady. That's my folk. Yo, hey. Let me see. Y'all know what the deal is. I'm on social media everywhere. I'm on Facebook, obviously. That's where I'm shooting this on. But, I'm on Instagram at Avatar Cycle XIII. You can also find me on YouTube. And I'm also on Medium, too. So you can check out some of the content that I've been putting out for many years. I was hoping to get a few more people to step in and, create this dialogue and conversation because, I like talking to y'all. Y'all my people. And, it's like I'm sure that there are certain things, certain points that I haven't actually touched on that I'm sure that you probably have questions on. So, hopefully we can catch that in the next section. But, the best, I see you, sis. Yo, the best way to avoid 90% of the pain and suffering, at least of an emotional nature, that you're going to encounter in life is to decentralize reality from you. You are not at the center of everything. You will burn through good relationships worshiping yourself. You will pursue fruitless relationships worshiping yourself. You're like, yo, hey, I like this person because they're going to make me look good. You know how many dudes out here chase women with diaper booties who get all these implants and shit just trying to look a specific way because they want to flex on other dudes? You know how weird that is? You look at someone who's physically deformed themselves in order to capture attention from others. And men will look at this and be like, I want that because I know other people want that. They never take time to explore their own desires and their own wants and needs. Dudes are like, yeah, I want that girl with the fat ass. I want the big titties. You want strippers, porn stars, because of how they make you look. You don't want to form a bond with another person. You want to use that person as an extension of your identity. Narcissists can't love people. They can't form bonds with people because they can never think above the level of self-interest. In order to have a real connection with someone, you have to deprioritize self. You have to make yourself vulnerable to a person to a degree that, as a matter of fact, you know what? That's probably the best way to say it. A relationship with someone, really falling in love with someone, it was allowing someone to be the key that frees you from the prison of selfishness. I've been in love a couple of times in my life with some extraordinary women. Women I probably had no business being with, but every time, even in my old days, every time, something about what they did, it made me stop thinking about myself for just a little bit. That's when I was free. That's when I was in love. Yo, it's your boy, Don King, signing off I appreciate y'all. Yo, hey. We sit here and what we're trying to do is get everybody to calm down. If your relationship has you aggressive, you have to rework that shit. You have to learn how to calm down. You have to be free. Cleanse your mind. That's the only way truth and reality can ever find themselves or find their way into you. You have to calm down enough to recognize that reality is not about your inner story. There are things that are happening all around you that have nothing to do with how you feel or believe about them. And the more aggressive you get is the more you dial into that inner story and the more you fight to defend it. Your inner story is like your sword and your shield. You go around trying to attack people with it and block out reality with it. It always works to your detriment. Bravery is being willing to set that sword and shield down and to face reality empty-handed. To face things that disagree with you empty-handed. Shit is going to come and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of times. I tell you this much right now. Being what I am, I hurt more days than I don't. But you got to be brave enough to walk through that shit. The good stuff is on the other side. Hey, y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for sticking it out with your boy. Wait, hold on. I got my brother Absurd the word. Oh, Absurd. Hey, Donald, I missed what you said. Be a key to what? Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and circle back on that. So, when you fall in love with somebody, you allow them to become a key that frees you from the prison of self-idealizing and selfishness. Selfishness is a prison. It's a prison. When a person has to prioritize themselves above everyone and everything in order to feel safe and secure, it becomes a prison. Because anything is a threat at that point, right? Everything is a threat at that point. You sit here and you're like, Sister Isha, what's good with your mama? Hey, my people showing up now. Hey, yo, but don't even worry. You can catch up with it on once I'm done with it. It's gonna reset and you can just watch it down if you want to. But the point of it is very simply, when you live in this system of selfishness, when you are constantly having to keep everybody at arm's length and you're constantly prioritizing your wants and needs and wishes above everyone, it's like it turns you into a target. And this is what happens with schizophrenia and psychosis specifically. People are so given to self-idealizing that they think everyone is out to get them. They think everything is a conspiracy to steal life and value away from them. When people like this enter into relationships, they don't know how to just be free and happy. They see their partner as someone who is a conquest, someone who they must defeat and subdue in order to be comfortable around the person. When you allow yourself to genuinely fall in love with somebody, you become free to just be around them, to just be loved, to be accepted, to feel accepted, to know what it's like to be vulnerable to the point that maybe they can't hurt you. I even recently, I've been in situations where women I've been with, they hurt me tremendously. But in that same respect, it's beautiful to know that I was actually able to make myself or allow myself to be vulnerable enough for them to hurt me in that way. I didn't let fear, I didn't let cowardice stop me from loving women fully. Yeah, it hurt like a bitch on the back end, but I take them lumps because I went someplace in that bond that they couldn't go. That's real freedom. I'll take that any day. Every time. Yo, this ran a little long. This is actually supposed to be 30 minutes, but it's like, my people showed up late. Yo, I'm going to say this too. If you're a narcissist in a relationship, you can never be happy. The reason you can't be happy is because you can never deprioritize yourself. You can never stop working to defend this bubble. And defending that bubble, that inner story, that internal narrative, it's exhausting. You can't have a conversation with anybody who says something that threatens a core belief. You can't have a conversation with anyone who makes even the slightest criticism of you. You can't think about anything above or beyond keeping this story intact. It's too much. It's exhausting and it makes you miserable. And then you think that the problem is everyone else, but it's not. The problem keeps repeating and representing itself because the problem isn't you. And wherever you go, it doesn't matter how often you try to escape hell, you won't because you carry it in you. It takes bravery to escape hell, man. It takes bravery. It takes bravery to stop self-idealizing. Because self-idealizing, again, it's an addiction. Just like it takes bravery to set down a crack pipe and walk away and know that you're going to experience that withdrawal, but be like, yo, this is for the best. I know I need to make it happen. I ran long, like I said, but y'all my people, y'all my folk. Again, you can always check me out on social media. Here's everything. Also, if you want to be part of the Patreon family, you can check me out on Patreon. I'm Avatar Psycho XIII. Cycle 13, baby. And I'm on Cash App at Donna King. Nights like this, I wish that raindrops would fall. No. I have fun. Hey, I'll tell you this right now. The surest sign you're going crazy is when you take yourself too seriously, right? People who take themselves too seriously, people who can't laugh at themselves, and who always have to, they're too intense. That's the surest sign of mental instability to me. I like laughing at myself, but anyway, again, I appreciate y'all. I'm signing off for real this time. Much love to you. For anyone who watched, I appreciate you genuinely. Hopefully I can get some more interaction on this next one. And we're going to make it rock. My people, y'all have a great evening. All right. Good night.